Welcome to Making It in the Music Industry, a podcast presented by the Emporium Live, where we bridge the gap between venues, bands, and fans. One of the ways we do that is by collaborating with artists and industry professionals to provide you with resources and knowledge you need to better navigate the music industry. You can join our live interviews every Monday and Thursday evening on Twitch or via Facebook Live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and our podcast is available on all streaming platforms 2 days after. You can also join us at the forum at the Emporium Live forum.com/forum. Sorry, y'all. Remember, during the live broadcast of this interview, the floor is open to live questions throughout the whole thing. So just get on and we will answer them in real time. I'm your host, Wallace Totier, and tonight I'm super happy to say we are talking to Sarah Harralson, who has been healing it in the country music scene with fresh, story-driven music, and I am loving it. How are you doing tonight, Sarah?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. We've been off for a couple of interviews and trying to get back on, and I'm super happy to have such a solid person to have as our fresh one for this month. And can I start with the questions right away? How old were you when you started writing your own lyrics?
So when I started writing music, the first song I wrote, I was only 10 years old, so I was very young when I started writing lyrics, and I was always doing that and writing melodies. And then I learned how to play piano when I was 14, so that really helped me to be able to compose music better. And then even in high school, I taught myself how to play guitar, so I heavily got into songwriting then too.
Okay, awesome. How many instruments can you play? I heard someone in your family plays the accordion.
Yeah. So I play mostly piano and guitar. I was trained classically on piano. So as far as like writing and gigging, guitar is probably my favorite to play. And then, my granddad played the accordion and bluegrass band. So I got his accordion actually when he passed. And there's a little snippet of his accordion that I played, and my song Granddad, which was off my Finally Found EP. So you can hear a little bit of me playing the accordion in that too.
That's good to know. I actually just recently listened to that track. So that's fun to know that was you playing the accordion. That's great. So, all right, with all that said, and that's awesome, 10 years old, and you've been going strong since then. I don't know how old you were when you first, how old were you when you first released your first track?
So that first EP, which the Granddad track is on, I released in 2014. So that was like my first official like studio release. And I was already in Nashville at the time for about a year. So I was definitely new to recording and the studio experience.
Good deal. All right. So what or how did you get finally serious with putting your music out, like deciding that writing lyrics and writing your own melodies were going to be a thing for you?
Yeah, I mean, when I moved to Nashville, I was pretty much just writing songs by myself, and that's really all I knew. So if you hear my first EP, it's more of a singer-songwriter genre when you listen to it, and all of those tracks I wrote by myself, and it pretty much was after that first EP when I started co-writing with other people and really like dove into the craft of songwriting and got more into learning how to craft country music better.
Okay, good deal. So I do think that you have a really fun outlook on how you write and tell your stories in your songs. And I'd like to point out one of those tracks called Broke in the City. Can you tell us a little bit of the first time you played Broke in the City? I think it was at the Pavilion Coffee House.
Yeah, I forget about that track sometimes because it's like, it's one of those that's like way back in my catalog that I don't really play anymore. But I like what I like about that song is that's when I was new to Nashville and I was a college student, and I was realizing that, oh my goodness, there's so many talented people and so many songwriters doing country music in this town. Like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Like, I'm broke, but I sure do love it. So essentially, that's one of those songs that all musicians in Nashville can relate to. Like we're broke in the city, but we love it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I just the attitude you took to before performing it, if I remember correctly right now off the top of my head, if you go to YouTube, you can find it at Nashville Ear, I think is what the YouTube page is called. And I think you had 3 or 4 other tracks that you played for that. I'm not sure what the event was or what's going on there, but your little brief monologue before you play the track is one of the most humbling and adorable things I've ever seen in my life, and it made the track 10 million times better. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Yeah, I go back and watch those sometimes because that was quite a few years ago, and you can tell like I was kind of new to like playing write-arounds and showcases, so I was still kind of getting over my nerves playing live.
Yeah.
And I was only like 19 then, so just to hear like the difference between my songs then and now, it's always just kind of fun to go back and listen.
Absolutely. And with that said, with trying to be in the singer-songwriter category, seeing tracks like that, and already I've pretty much listened to your whole catalog, your evolution is on a very steady pace. Like you are going to be you and a lot of other people, honestly, are going to be up there in the singer-songwriter category. And for other people to think that it just takes a hook and a good melody to get a song going, you're one of those people that I'm really hoping in the future are going to be selling songs for the rest of your life. Where some of the people who are only focusing on the hooks, they're going to sell them for a few years. But you've got a niche, and you're going to keep it going. I hope so, because their stories are great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
All right. So you've been putting music out online since about 2014. I know you've probably been working longer than that. But you've also been becoming a familiar face for your fans and other fans, obviously, on shows like Midnight Madness Radio and also Bluebird's Cafe, which I think is called Chick Singers Night. How's all that going for you?
Yeah, so as far as like live shows and being in person with radio shows, that hasn't really been a thing lately. But the Bluebird show, Bluebird Cafe, it's an amazing like accomplishment if you can play there. And I was invited to play there last, I think it was November or December.
I think it was November, yeah.
It was, but that was such an amazing show, and I'm so glad, I got to play there before everything shut down. So basically lately, as far as shows, I've mostly been doing like the live stream shows. Mm-hmm. And then I have a gig here in Nashville on Saturday, a little bit out of Nashville. So we're kind of getting back into playing live again, but still, in a weird transition.
Right on. Real quick, Sarah, can I ask you, can you turn your speakers down just a wee bit?
Sure.
Thank you. I'm hearing myself echo every once in a while.
All right.
Cool. We'll see if that's better here in a moment. So doing either the radio shows, the Bluebird Cafe, and then now the online streaming shows, how has that helped you put your name out networking wise? And then what are you doing personally to network?
Yeah, I mean, since I got in this town, I kind of realized, you can learn so much about the music business, but what really kind of helps you get along is the networking and meeting people in person. So I've always just made sure to kind of show up and try to get in anywhere I can play a show. And when I got into town, just kind of write with anyone I could, and then figure out who I write best with and try to get into the door with, some better writers. And, when you meet people, they introduce you to people. So it's just kind of like, meeting connections. And I've met a lot of people just through playing shows here in Nashville too. So yeah, you can find people on social media, but I think definitely the in-person experience, even out of town playing shows, is so important for artists.
Mm-hmm. And you have done actually a lot of collaborations on songs with other people, your own music. I'm sure you've done that with other people's music also. How do you feel about the collab movement, like working it with someone else? Do you like to write the full song and then bring someone else in, or do you like to write with someone else?
Yeah, I typically always like to have a co-writer with me now, just because I feel like it really makes a difference how the song turns out when you have another set of ears and another set of eyes on it. So I usually write with one other person or maybe two other people. Right now it's mostly been like co-writing with people over like Zoom and Skype, so it's usually just like one other person. But also it's a lot of them were, well, I'm gonna write with my co-writer and they're gonna bring in one of their buddies or something. So it's a lot of that too, and people you don't know coming into the write.
Right on. Now, do you come to the studio or the floor, whatever it may be, the Zoom meeting, with a story in mind, and then you guys all kind of collaborate on how to break down that story and create the portions of it?
Yeah, I mean, it typically varies, but pretty much all of us will have, ideas in our phone already, and I just have like on the notes in my phone just a whole running list of titles that have, come into my mind over time and that I've just been meaning to write. So I'm always compiling the list, and then sometimes I get melodies in my head without, any lyrics that go to them. So I'll just like record a voice memo of the melody. So when we get to the write, we'll ask what ideas everyone has, and we'll shoot off like titles usually, and then just make a melody and go on that. And then, sometimes we'll say, well, I have this really cool melody. Let's, see what comes to mind with it. So
nice. That is a lot of fun. So what all groups right now are you or have you been using for distribution?
For distribution, I use Ditto Music to distribute my music, and I really like them. And then my management company has kind of been getting my music out there too. I used to do physical sales for CDs and still have a lot of those, but I feel like with the way things are going right now, everyone's streaming and just doing singles. So.
Right on. And speaking of singles, you've got a new one coming out. It's already out, right? It's Put a Rock on This Rolling Stone?
Yes, it came out on June 26th.
Good deal. And then I think it's on the 29th. We should be expecting a music video for that?
Yes. The music video came out on the 29th.
Good deal. Can you give me a little bit of a background story on what that track is about?
Yeah, so I wrote that with two of my co-writers, and that title actually came from one of my co-writers, Johnny Garcia. It came from his phone, so he had that written down. I'm like, oh, I really like that, and I loved, just the play on words and the title. And it's something I really connected to, so we started writing a melody to that, and I knew it was something that I really wanted to cut for myself. Because it's something I definitely could relate to. And I think it's something a lot of girls and just other young people in general can relate to, because we all kind of feel like a Rolling Stone and just kind of doing what we want and going where we want without restrictions. But I think a lot of us at the end of the day want to settle down with someone and have another person to experience these things in life with. So it's definitely, it felt universal, but also something personal to me.
That's great. That's awesome. And so I'm pretty sure, is that one of the tracks that you brought for us to listen to today?
I did, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and take a break and we'll listen to that track and get back to the interview? Because that actually is the one track I don't think I've heard. And I knew that it was a new release, but I'm pretty sure I went through your whole catalog and skipped that one. So I'm actually very excited to listen to it.
Yeah, let's listen to it.
All right, Tucker, you want to get that set up for us, buddy?
Finding the wrong love every night. I'm against the wind. Chase those headlights, no need to hit the brakes. You wanna settle down, I won't hesitate. Put a rock on this rolling stone. Slow me down and take me home, 'cause you've got a hold on me. If you wanna tame this gypsy soul, take me away from the neon smoke. Baby, won't you put a rock on this rolling stone? Put a rock on this rolling stone. Slow me down and take me home, 'cause you've got a hold on me. I don't wanna roll on my own, so slow me down and take me home, 'cause you've got a hold on me. If you wanna tame this gypsy soul, take me away from the neon smoke. Baby, won't you put a rock on this rolling stone? This rolling stone. This rolling stone.
All right, welcome back, y'all. That was the track "Put a Rock on This Rolling Stone," which is awesome, and I'm super happy to have finally heard it. And with that said, am I correct that you have a show coming up on the 11th, this Saturday?
I do, yeah. It's this Saturday in Nashville. So if anyone in Nashville wants to come out, it's at a brand new place that opened up called Burger and Company, and I think it's been doing really well as far as business. So bring a mask and come on out if you're in the area.
Good deal. Good deal. So we spoke earlier about doing the whole collaborations and how you like producing your music and all that. There is I cannot remember her name for the life of me right now, a female artist that you did some collabs with. I can see that one of the pictures is you and her sitting on like a stone stoop holding the guitar between you. What was her name?
Christine Bauer.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I noticed in a lot of my research on you, her name would pop up a lot. How much work did you guys do together?
We've written so much together. So
Okay, so that makes sense then. Okay.
Yeah, she's a singer-songwriter and artist herself, and she actually lives in Omaha, Nebraska, but we so happened to meet over some virtual song pitch seminar, and she reached out to me, and then we got together when she was in Nashville, and so ever since, it's been quite a few years now, we just write over Skype since she lives in Nebraska and visit each other like a couple times a year, but we've written so many songs together.
Have you guys been able to do anything live together yet?
We have, yeah. Every time we get together, we usually do live shows. And so we just had a whole collection of songs that we wrote. And, we were just kind of talking, and we were saying, both of us do shows together sometimes, and we're both artists. What if we just did like a collaborative album of, like 10 songs we wrote that we really love? So we worked on that, and I love to produce music myself. So me and my friend, who is also a producer, co-produced the tracks. And then, it was just one of those collaborative projects we wanted to release. So we did that last May. And then I flew up to Nebraska, and we both did a bunch of shows like in Nebraska, the Dakotas, and Montana too.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm very happy to hear that. I'm going to start looking up some of that stuff because I can't wait to hear more of you guys doing things together. And your live, I've watched maybe 2 or 3 live performances from you. Your stage presence is always solid. It's
Thank you.
always very much, I don't want to use the word professional. It's natural. You come off very natural. You don't seem like you have a different persona on or off stage, especially now that I'm getting to talk to you. You seem like you're very driven and know what you're doing, and you're just who you are, which is great. You should please be that person for me. And with that said, do you have any advice for our listeners or anyone else who's out there trying to get into making this much more of a professional decision to do music arts and all that? What is the difference from the interview stage to the performance stage?
Yeah, so I think what kind of helped me with stage presence was I did a lot of like acting and musical theater growing up and in high school. So I think that kind of helped me with stage presence, but I was just always kind of being true to myself and authentic on the stage as well as off, because you don't want to seem like, you know, a completely different person when you're off the stage. And, you know, it's actually cool to have like something different about you when you're on stage. So if you're worried like you're too awkward or it has to be perfect, it really doesn't, because people want to see like something special about you when you're on stage, especially when there's so many musicians performing. So don't worry if you feel like you're too awkward or nervous. Kind of use that to your advantage if you're just kind of in the beginning stages. I know I was so nervous when I started playing on stages here, so it's fine. And even in interviews, it's easy to get nervous before too. But I mean, as long as you're just true to yourself and authentic with your answers, I mean, I think you'll be fine.
All right, good deal. I like that answer a lot. So do you know who you've been using for a performance arts organization, or have you had any hiccups with those? Like people who are, you have to make sure you've got your all your rights together before you perform any music?
Yeah, I use BMI and they've been great. So I've just been sticking with them.
Nice, good deal. One and done. Let's see. We've got this. We've got that. Let's let that. We got the show on the 11th. We talked about that. All right. So collaborations. Oh, yes. So did you know that you are I wish I still had this on my phone so I could bring it up, and I didn't write it down. But there is a web page for helping people learn how to mix their tracks better and how to be like master their music. And you're one of the highlights on their front page. I think it's just called, maybe the page is called Mix Better or something like that. But I thought that was really fun.
Sound Better?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. I was going to ask either she knows about it or she doesn't, but I want to know, like, how did you get on there? Did you utilize them before?
Yeah, so Spotify actually rolled this out. I guess it was maybe the beginning of the year, but Spotify rolled out this thing called Sound Better. So if you're like a Spotify artist, you can apply on Sound Better to be like a session player, a producer, a vocalist, whatever services someone might need. So if someone really needs like a guitar track or a vocal track, they can just go on there, look at people and hire someone.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so I signed up for it. I had a few people like reach out and then like never respond. So it's not really something I've utilized so far, but I think it's really cool that it's an option now. Yeah,
as an idea, it is great. Sad for those people who didn't answer back after they reached out to you. They're missing out. But yeah, that's awesome. That's super cool. All right. Thank you very much for answering that and knowing what I was talking about.
Yeah, and they were smart to roll it out before COVID hit, because
absolutely
more than ever now.
Yeah, speaking of the whole COVID thing, I mean, I know that you just had the new single come out. You've got a music video coming out. Has COVID kind of slowed down any production on anything, or have you been able to just jump right into the online atmosphere and just be fine?
Yeah, I've been able to like work from home and stuff, so it hasn't been too bad. The only thing that sucked was having to miss my live shows, but I pretty much just kind of dove in right away to playing like the virtual shows like everyone was doing, and doing like live interviews and stuff like this.
Mhm.
So it really hasn't been too bad. The only thing that was difficult was, being able to get in the studio with people and show.
Yeah. So I know that just recently you got a new management team. There's E Squared, I believe was.
Yes,
Squared
yeah, I've
Production,
been
yeah.
using them for my management company and for this, for my latest release, and they've been great.
Okay, so up until the point where you got them, what was the hardest part of doing most of it for yourself from the studio to the stage? Like, what was the hardest part for you?
So when I first started like recording, the hardest part was just like figuring out, how to do things on a budget as an independent artist. So that was my first struggle. And then I met this guy in town named Scott Schultz, and he heard one of my songs, really liked it. It's called Watered Down Whiskey, and he wanted to like sign me into like this 3-song pub deal and essentially like record some of my songs for free. So when you can find those like independent pub deals, they're so good because that's when you can get like really good, Nashville sounding quality recordings and, not have to spend so much as an independent artist, which is definitely a struggle for people. And then I got into producing myself because I thought, well, if I can learn this and, save money, that would be fun too. So that definitely helped with my, project with Christine, being able to learn and do a lot of that on my own. And then my current publisher, I met him through a mutual friend, just songwriting. We wrote Radio Static together. And then I asked him if he could record guitar on the track for my EP, Watered Down Whiskey, and he did. And then we just started like writing more, collaborating more. And then he's currently my publisher right now. So he's the one that's been recording and writing a lot of these singles with me that I'm releasing, and even Put a Rock on This Rolling Stone. So just having, those people throughout my career has been so helpful and beneficial.
Very cool. Very cool. So as of right now, you have, I believe, 2 EPs, and you do have 1 full album, and we just have the new single now. For those EPs and the full album, were those also distributed and put out by you independently?
They were, yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Is there any advice on how to, for me, for everyone listening, the steps taken to just do that and to copyright and all that? Like, what are your steps? How did you do it?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult if you're an independent artist and not really know like what to look for, because there's so many options for distribution now. So what I did was just kind of make like a pros and cons list of each one, because some of them are kind of like the big dogs of distributors, but they kind of take a lot of your money too. So I kind of looked for one that maybe a good amount of people use, like they have a good reputation, but they're not big enough to where like they can't answer you right away, and they're not really just like out for your money. So that's kind of something I looked for. As far as the copyright office, some people feel like they need to copyright like every single song they record or write, and that gets so expensive. So, I mean, with technology now, pretty much if you're distributing, that's pretty much a copyright already, and it has the data creation. So you're pretty much good there. But yeah, just take your time and research, because there's so many different options for everything.
Cool. And what can we look forward to for future productions with you?
Yeah, so I'm working on my next single right now. I'm getting back into the studio now that things have kind of opened up again. So you guys can definitely expect a new single from me in the coming months.
Good deal. I'm super stoked to hear that. So last but not least, what are some of the ways that our listeners and your fans, obviously, if they for some reason don't know already, are ways they can find your music, listen to more of you live, and get in contact with you?
Yeah, so all of my music is available to listen on all streaming platforms, Spotify, whatever you use. My new music video is called Put a Rock on This Rolling Stone, and you can find that on YouTube. And then social media, you can just find me anywhere under Sarah Harralson.
Right on, right on. And don't forget, if you're in the area, she has a show this Saturday on the 11th at, was it Burgers & Co.?
Yes.
All right. So if you're in the area, guys, please go check that out. And gals, sorry. All right. And I think that is going to call it a wrap for tonight. Sarah, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who tuned in live tonight. If we didn't get to your questions, you have more later on about anything from music in the studio, behind the scenes, and everything in between, please email us and we'll get you an answer. Or you can get on the emporiumlive.com/forum, and that'll be just the same thing as asking us live. You can catch up on previous episodes of Making It in the Music Industry on any of our streaming services, especially Spotify, Deezer, and Apple. And don't forget to leave us a review so we can make sure we're trying to do better for you, because that's what we're trying to do, is do good for everybody. And good night, everyone. Good night, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I had a lot of fun talking with you, and I hope to have you on again.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right.